Unfortunately, this video just wouldn't be as much fun if I couldn't talk about the story, so there will be a couple minor spoilers for the rest of the Myst franchise. If you're on the fence about these games, I highly suggest you go play them. I won't reveal too much though, so if you're in for the long haul, welcome aboard! Last time, we left off with Myst 3 Exile, and while it's not my favorite game in the franchise, there's no question that it holds up to any of the best of the adventure game genre. This week, we're diving into the final 2 games in the franchise and the spin-off. Let's get started. Myst 4 Revelation was a breath of fresh air for me, because I love sequels. Exile felt too much like a prequel, and this game got back to a story I really wanted to hear more about. Remember those 2 crazy brothers from the very first game? The ones that got trapped in the red and blue books? You finally get to find out what happened to them. Better than that, you actually get to see where they were trapped all those years. And they are very beautiful places. Okay, so the transition between screens looks a little funny because of the lighting changes, and in my opinion, the characters might not look as integrated into the game world as they did in Riven. But everything else is exactly what I wanted from a new Myst game. Even the puzzles are better this time around than in Exile, because they're informed by each character's history. It was incredibly fascinating to see and read about what the 2 brothers were up to during the years they spent stuck in isolation. And no, this one wasn't developed by Cyan Worlds either, but it really felt like the story came full circle here, for the entire franchise. And this is the game that got me excited about Myst again.
Hello, my friend.
What's that? I hear one person asking. This isn't footage from Myst 5? Well, I've done all the other ones in order so far. 1, 2, 3, 4, and now this one. Why put Uru in 5th place when it's actually the spin-off game of the series? Because I have a theory. A theory so dark and twisted that I don't dare to share it here. Prepare to have your minds blown in just a couple minutes when I finally talk about Myst 5. End of ages. Anyway, back to Uru. Uru was a grand experiment. I can't think of a game like this one before or since. It asked the question, what would an adventure game look like if it was a massively multiplayer online game? Now, I know what you're thinking, and before you die from laughter, let me just explain the game a little bit. That destroyed civilization that I mentioned in the first video, the ones who created the technology to write these special books that take you to all these fantastic worlds. In Uru, you get to go to the ruins of that city, and it's massive. Now in the single player, it makes you feel the same loneliness and solitude that was part of what made the original Myst so great. But you also get to dive into the Dunny culture, the society, the ages they went to, why they went to them. It's a fascinating experience on its own, especially if you've spent years playing the Myst series and uncovered bits and pieces of the lore. Uru is like the lore motherlode. The motherlode, if you will. So why tack multiplayer onto that? Because in the multiplayer, that same ruined city becomes a thriving society. The whole thing feels alive again. And you're no longer exploring the remains of a long-dead civilization, but you're an instrumental piece of developing a new one. That feeling of cooperative exploration is something I haven't experienced in a video game since Uru, and that's a shame, because it's one of the main reasons it will forever be one of my favorite games. There's no new content being produced for Uru anymore. That's long since passed. But it did go open source a few years ago, and a small community still plays the multiplayer component today. So if End of Ages weren't the last game in the Myst franchise, would I have thought it to be as good as I do now? Maybe not. But, wait a second. Wasn't I supposed to reveal some kind of terrible secret? Right. Well, might as well do it now. There is a reason that I put Myst 5 at the end of this video. There's also a reason why I said the Myst story comes full circle by the 4th game. By the end of Myst 4, things feel pretty finished. But by the end of Uru, not even close. See, Myst 5, End of Ages, isn't a sequel to the Myst series. It's a sequel to Uru, the spin-off game. Pretty dark secret, huh? Yeah, I guess I have a habit of building things up. Anyway, here's my evidence. It starts in the same place that Uru ends. The main focus of the game is also on Yisha, who's considerably older than when you see her in Uru. But considerably older than when you see her in Revelation. It also ties up a ton of loose ends surrounding these creepy little guys. And of course, it looks and feels very similar. Now maybe that's not much to go on, but Uru was supposed to be an MMO. It was supposed to constantly have new content being added month after month. And when it got closed down, I'm guessing a lot of those ideas and work in progress ages just were never going to see the light of day. So, Myst 5 kind of created an avenue to finish up the Myst story, what little there was else to tell, and finish what they had for Uru. It makes sense. To me, anyway. And I'm glad they did, because Myst 5 framed its story and gameplay very interestingly, and I don't think the same effect could have been achieved if it had been done in Uru. Anyway, as I was saying, End of Ages was the first Myst game to be developed by Cyan Worlds since Riven, and it features some new and very interesting gameplay mechanics, while sticking to the classic exploration-based gameplay. There are a few downsides to its new graphical style, namely that it doesn't look nearly as good as Revelation, and as a result of the rendering in full-time 3D, the environments suffer that same Uru problem of not feeling quite as alive and filled with history. It also relies on your knowledge of previous entries in this series to really fill in the gaps. And man, does this game feed you story like grain going into a silo. I don't know why they couldn't let the worlds tell you the story and explain what's going on. And yes, the other games in the franchise did sometimes rely on talking heads to convey plot information to you. But End of Ages leans more heavily on that than any other game in the franchise. It doesn't rely on journals and the environment to fill you in on everything you need to know. And yeah, it's a little bit of a shame. But at the same time, Myst 5 is a very fitting ending to the series. The environments are really interesting, the gameplay mechanics are unique and fun to play around with. The characters obviously have hidden motives, and you have to discover what's really behind them. There's a lot of fun to be had here, and a few very interesting secrets worth unlocking. The Myst franchise is my favorite franchise in gaming history. Maybe it's nostalgia, since Myst was the first game I ever played, and maybe it just really fits with my personality. But there's a lot to love with these games. Worlds worth exploring, stories worth reading, and characters definitely worth meeting. Watching this broken family grow over the course of 2 decades is something I've never really seen in any other franchise, and it only helps increase the immersion I feel every time I dive back into this series. Sure, they're all frustrating at points, but having pages of hastily written notes on a paper next to your desk is part of that experience. These are games that not only take you to other worlds, but make you feel smarter and heroic while doing it. They are games as art done right, and if you haven't personally played these, I think you need to. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video. Thanks for watching, and until next time, everybody.